Welcome to Around Town here in 2018. We're back from our holiday hiatus, and welcome back to my super director, Ian, who's been over in Japan, and of course he hasn't started talking fluent Japanese yet, but he's back and we're all here, and I'm glad to have with me as my first guest of 2018, our Police Chief, Brad Osgood. And I understand you had a good holiday, as you said. You got a couple of shirts and a few other things, but
yeah, it was
no,
great.
No cruise yet, though, huh?
What was that?
No cruise yet, though, huh?
No.
Santa didn't give you a cruise.
No, I'm not a cruiser.
Neither am I.
Yeah.
And with all what's been going on lately, did you see the recent cruise that came up from Nassau to New York City? They ran right into that cyclone of the storm there.
Yeah, that's bad.
How the water was coming out, and
Yeah.
God, they must have thought the Titanic was back alive again or something.
Yeah, I'm not a big boat fan. I mean, I'm sure that there are a lot of cruises that are really nice, different parts of the world, but I'd rather just stay on land.
We went on one several years ago, or maybe more than that now, from Vancouver up to Alaska and into Canada a little bit. My in-laws love them. I think Deb, we just are not cruise people. I don't mind going maybe for a couple of days or a couple of nights, like over Nova Scotia, but I just am not. I found myself very bored on there. I was in the casino more than anywhere else, and I had a good time in there. But other than that, there were some good shows, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. I couldn't wait to get back.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And we flew over on Canadian Airlines to Vancouver, and they were very, very rude, because there was a person choking on there, near our area on the plane, and my sister-in-law is a registered nurse, and so of course they were calling anybody on here that's so of course she went right back, and so they got the person okay finally, and they resumed all right, but not one person thanked her for responding like she did. And I went back and I said something to him. I said, could somebody just please show a little appreciation to her? And they told me to get back in my seat and not bother them. And I was disgusted. I said, my goodness, here's a woman, yes, she's a registered nurse, and her first priority is to respond. But still, you think they could have said thank you, but nothing.
But I mean, and I agree with you. But you've been around longer than I have. But don't you see that in society?
Oh yeah.
We're becoming a little bit more
yeah.
apathetic and disrespectful. As opposed to say 30, 40 years ago.
Well, I mean, even then, sometimes you'd say, now make sure that you're polite to your police officer or firefighter or whatever, doctor or nurse, whatever. And a lot of times they still wouldn't say thank you. They'd call you all kinds of names. But instead of thanking you for responding and taking care of the situation or whatever, and nope, not a word. Nope, oh God, that's not in their vocabulary.
Yeah.
And it's too bad, and I don't understand it. And it's gotten worse, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, even as politicians, we hear it all the time. We never get thanked for anything, for voting on anything or whatever. We're always criticized heavily if we voted for something that they didn't like. Well, yeah, it happens.
Well, as a legislator, it must be difficult because you're going to make half the people happy and half the people upset.
Sure. And now you have a third in there because we now have the Libertarian Party that's becoming more and more growing in size. So, I don't know. It's really difficult. But now, with you and your force there, of course, you're still down, was it 10, 12 men or 17 men, women?
Well, it's difficult to, I mean, as far as vacancies within the sworn ranks, we have 8 vacancies out of 86, but we are, still missing a lot of people that are still in training, just got out of the police academy or on military leave, extended military leave. So, that 8 is probably yeah, it's probably upwards to 18 to 20 when you know that you're down. So you're down. Well, we're down about 22 to 24%.
Oh, percent, yeah. Huh.
Which makes it difficult on the officers that are working. You know, there's for the patrol rotation. I mean, they're picking up a lot of extra shifts, and when you do that, you obviously are, you know, your immune system is suppressed. You're not sleeping.
Yeah.
You're not taking care of yourself,
That's right.
and then you get the flu a lot quicker, and then you're out of work for a few more days. So it's this like domino effect that we're struggling with.
And some of the places you go into are, excuse me, I'm not snobby, but brother, some of the apartments are just about forget it.
Yeah.
You know, the health, the conditions, the living conditions. It's no wonder they're sick. But I don't know. I mean, I haven't, from the map that I saw, New Hampshire so far was not listed as one of those states that has the flu epidemic right now, which I was surprised. Vermont and Massachusetts were listed, but not New Hampshire, or Maine either.
Yeah.
But, because usually here in the churches, they stop doing the wine or the blood of Jesus, they call it when you go up for communion. But they haven't done. So far they're still serving it. So I guess they're not worried yet about the flu. But
well, you know, I'm not a medical person, but I refer to anytime you're sick, I refer to you as having the flu. I mean, so when you could just have a bad cold, and I go, well, I'm not going near you because you got the flu.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just so easy. I mean, the colds are out there. A lot of people have had colds, pneumonia. I mean, that part of it has really been up there. Knock on wood, I haven't had that yet, and I hope I don't, because I had the pneumonia here a couple of years ago. That was nasty.
You know, and a lot of the, you know, you think of a lot of the police officers, you know, they have families, they have young families, and they have children that are in the schools or in daycares, and so those are incubators of the cold. So, yeah, I mean, that's what happens in a workforce. That's how things get run. I mean, I don't have any children at home anymore, so I don't have the incubators, if you will, of that. So,
yeah.
But no, we're managing good. You know, we had a fairly good Christmas, New Year's time period. You know, as far as the calls for service, we're fine, and we're looking forward to spring.
Is it difficult though for you to go home and just take off the uniform and relax in baggy clothes or whatever, or even on your days off? I mean, can you basically relax, or or is that in your mind that you're going to be called out any minute? Or, I mean, I'm looking at you and I'm trying to figure, does this guy really relax?
Well, as you can see right now, I'm really relaxed.
Really?
Right.
Okay.
But no, when I go home, you know, I think technology has interfered with any sort of relaxation that you would think. So, you know, I have a smartphone, and I have my emails on that, and so I get emails constantly, you know, every, you know, 17 plus an hour, and so I could be at 8 o'clock at night. I mean, you've emailed me.
I know, and I was surprised when I got it too, because it was about the show and nothing else. But
you emailed me about, you know, can you come on the show on a particular day, and you may send that email at 9:30 at night, and I respond back.
I know, and I'm shocked. It's huge.
And so I do that, you know, throughout the evening. I do that on Saturdays and Sundays. I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm relaxed. I'm at home. I'm watching a football game on TV, or I'm, you know, tossing a ball to my dog. But, but I'm always in constant contact or communication. And so it is difficult to separate.
So did you root for Alabama or Georgia?
You know, I didn't have a affinity one way or another with those two.
No.
You know, I like Nick Saban, the Alabama coach.
Yeah.
You know, I like him. I don't know much about the Georgia program, but Alabama is always a strong contender. And I didn't watch the game, but I did catch the highlights. But you know. it was kind of remarkable that you had a quarterback that came in.
Oh, I know.
And
Threw that touchdown.
yeah, so I mean, that's a good news story. So
Yeah, you think in my house I'm going to watch that game?
I don't think so.
Not with The Bachelor on. And even with a good doctor on, I was disgusted Monday night with that series. I really did not like it because they were showing him shutting off his phone, getting drunk. Now here's a doctor who's autistic to begin with, fighting to get on a staff at a hospital and does that stupid stuff.
Yeah.
And I wrote to him too. I said, I'm sorry, but I said I will not watch this show again. I'm really disgusted. I was disgusted with the writing of that show.
Yeah.
I know he's a human being, but still. But no, I watched only one game, and even that I got disgusted at. And that was Michigan on New Year's Day in the Outback Bowl. And I guess they were sleeping because South Carolina, well, they were winning most of the game, and South Carolina just ramrodded them right over in the fourth period, and that was it.
Yeah.
And boy, I guess they got a lot of emails on that one. But but no, I just, of course, everything's watching the Patriots this week. Are you finding that when they're on TV that there's less crime around town when they're on or something?
That would be an interesting study to find out how many calls for service you have during game time and I don't know the answer to that.
I mean, I'm sure the bars they're loaded like Cheers or Tandy's or some of the the lounges or the bars are loaded with them watching that game. But
yeah, it'd be an interesting study.
I just kind of wondered,
Yeah, same with the Super Bowl, regardless.
Oh yeah,
regardless of who's in it, you wonder what calls are like.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking for spring too. I agree with you.
Well, especially the last week and a half, it's been terrible with the wind and the cold.
Seems like we've had March winds all year, but the ice is what gets me. I'd rather have 100 inches of snow than that stupid ice. That I don't like.
No.
It's scared of falling down and all this stuff, and it's just, it's awful out there. And of course the plows, they're doing a horrible job. I mean, of course they don't get out until they're called out. So by that time, it's already formed on the streets. And they don't seem to have the plow that will go right down to the pavement and scoop it up or whatever. They just, whatever, so.
Yeah. And in Concord too, we've run into a number of snow bans that have been called already this season. And I think one night, Mr. Florence was telling me they towed upwards to 70 cars. And so when you're having to tow that many cars off of the street, that's hindering the plowing operations. They have to go.
Where do they put them? 70 cars? Where'd you put them?
Well, private tow companies will come in.
Okay.
So.
Wow.
But yeah, so what you find is they'll go around the cars, but plow operators have a certain route, so they may not get back to that street for 2.5, 3 hours, or even longer.
And your sidewalks are a mess.
And I noticed the sidewalks are extremely icy.
I had to call because, in fact, your dispatcher was very good, because on the weekend, who do you call up there? So I called your department and talked with the dispatcher, and I told her the circumstances, that my sister is handicapped, she cannot get out, and she was at Freedman Court there, or not Freedman Court, over there in oh goodness, the one there on the corner of Warren and she is over there on the Firehouse Block, but in the newer section where she's looking right at your department. And I said, the sidewalk's not even plowed, so she can't get out, period. She can't go anywhere. God forbid if there's an emergency there. Yeah. So she said she would contact the person who was on call. Then they were out. And sure enough, the next day it was plowed. So I don't know, but you would think that those areas where the handicapped or disabled are, that they would take special exception to that and get them done. But
Yeah. So the General Services Department of Public Works here in Concord, they do a pretty good job responding to when, you know, people are calling saying, hey, this street is narrowing because of the snowbanks, and but they have a route, they deal with it, but that's all people have to do is call and let us know, or we can let them know. But if they call, they're fairly responsive to those requests.
now tell me something. I think I know the answer, but for those out there in TV land that don't know this, you're patrolling in Concord and the outlying areas of Concord, out there by Sheep Davis Road, out there by way out yonder in East Concord, out that way. Can't think of the whole roads. Snow Pond Road, out that way. Up there by River Hill, all that. So that's your area patrol, and you're in charge of that. So if you're gonna give a ticket to somebody, that's automatically assumed. But then you see the state police. Now, are they supposed to be on these roads too, or is it just the highway that goes through Concord, or the off ramps, or the on ramps?
That's a very good question. So, essentially, state police has jurisdiction through the entire state. But as far as enforcement of laws, you know, until recently, they could, if the population of the town was less than 3,000 people, then they could be in the town.
Oh yeah.
So if the population is more than 3,000 people, such as Concord, they have to essentially have permission from me to do enforcement type activity. There's been a tweak in the law recently that basically allows them, because to take enforcement action. So for instance, if there's a trooper that's coming from headquarters and he's heading to 93, but he notices a car that's unregistered in front of him, you know, well, it's his job to take enforcement action or to do that. So, but troopers in Concord anyway aren't typically going to be sitting at a stop sign watching for violations, or at a red light, or running radar on Water Street. But they do have the authority or the ability to stop cars as they're passing through.
So they're not required to call you on the radio and say, I'm on such and such a street, stopping this vehicle, and you don't have to respond just to be actually covering that area, or they just assume do the whole thing?
No, they'll do the whole thing. You know, we can monitor their radio transmissions, and you know, the troopers are great. They, especially the Troop D troopers around here, if they're in town for whatever reason, they give us a call, let us know, and you know, we're fortunate, you know, when you're short-handed like we are, that you know, they like to come into Concord to help us out, you know, and go on calls with us every once in a while.
Now throw another one into the mix. Sheriff's Department. Now I know the old saying has been that the high sheriff has more power than you have. But when I first started with dispatch in '74, the deputies never did any of the patrol work or nothing. They were just doing service of paperwork and all that stuff. Then all of a sudden, years later, they started to get into this stopping vehicles and stuff, and it's like, wait a minute here. It's almost like now you've got the regular city police, state police, now county's in there doing some stuff in Concord or whatever.
So the sheriff's office, you know, for Merrimack County Sheriff's Office, the deputies have essentially law enforcement jurisdiction throughout the entire county. So there's maybe one deputy on duty, you know, Monday through Friday that's assigned to, say, traffic. And we don't typically see their traffic deputy working in Concord.
No.
They may be in, you know, Hill or Dunbarton or Salisbury or someplace like that, you know, helping out those local police departments that have like a part-time workforce.
Yeah.
But no, they can stop cars in Concord. Rarely they do. Most of the time we see that sheriff's deputies in Concord, they're doing civil work.
Oh yeah.
Prisoner transportation at
Yeah.
the prison or
Yeah.
the courts, or dealing with civil process.
So what happens if there are towns in here for a meeting or whatever, say like Franklin or Hooksett or could be Hillsborough's in here or up there in say Plymouth's down here. And if they see something, can they stop anybody? They can too?
They can too, and so what they'll do is, I have mutual aid with a lot of the departments, especially the departments that are contiguous to Concord.
Yeah.
So they can actually do that. But if you had an officer that was here to attend a legislative hearing at the State House from, say, Berlin, which I don't have a mutual aid agreement with, and they witnessed a crime or a violation and they stopped the car, they would simply call us and we would send an officer over, and that police officer is able to pass on that probable cause to that other officer.
Oh, okay.
So, but that happens very infrequently.
Yeah. What about the opioid crisis here? The drug problem in Concord. Is that decreasing or how's that going?
Well, no, I wouldn't say it's decreasing. If you look statistically, I think in 2016, so 2 years ago, we probably had about 100 or so overdoses that we responded to. In 2017, that was up. I want to say it's about 150. So it's the amount of calls we're going because people are overdosing is going up, and the people that are dying from opioid is basically the same. So yeah, it's still here, and it's hard to get rid of.
Did you see? Have you read the Concord Monitor today?
I did not.
There's a story in there you might want to read. I glanced at it, but it was talking about child marriages, and it's like this. In other words, almost like 13-year-olds marrying these older men and all this stuff, and that's that's illegal, isn't it? It's got to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean.
Isn't that like? What do you call it there?
Well, it would be statutory.
That's it, okay,
right?
yes.
Yeah, but that's a societal norm, if you will. It may have been favorable or acceptable, in the 1890s, but in 2018, it's not an acceptable norm. It's almost like marijuana. I know that there's big debates this past week about the marijuana, whether or not it should be legalized, and it's.
I'm going to ask you your opinion, then I'll give you my vote. How I voted the other day on this, because it shocked me. How do you stand on that? This idea of legalizing marijuana for recreational use.
Well, I was actually asked the very same question in a radio interview this week as well, and I speak as a police chief, and I will say that I'm opposed as a police chief. But even if I wasn't a police chief, just as an ordinary resident and taxpayer of the state of New Hampshire, I would be opposed to it. I don't think you can convince me on one hand or another that ingesting a substance such as THC that gives you a euphoric effect, it gets you high, it should be legal. It just makes no sense to me.
Well, I was surprised Tuesday when we voted on that bill, because I voted no. I was against it. And all around me were people of the same party. And I thought, what the heck is going on here? The Democrats were always against it. And one of the ones that was for it, he was out of Hampton, and it's like, what? I couldn't believe it. And I thought, am I missing something? And I read that, because the guy next to me, the gentleman next to me, said, Dick, you voted again? I said, yeah. My constituents are against that. I said, I know, I can't. I said, you vote that today. Oh, of course, they got to go through a bunch of other stuff. But I said, what's next? We going to legalize cocaine next, or heroin, or what's coming next?
Right.
Or is what was it, an eighth of an ounce or a quarter of an ounce? What
It's
was
like
it?
3/4 of an ounce.
Yeah. So what am I going to do next? 2 years from now? Go for a pound? I mean, really?
Right.
Where's it going to stop?
The other thing that, you know, as the legislature or the state has to look at it is if you are going to legalize it, meaning the legislature is going to legalize it, what process do you have in place? Right. You need a strategic plan on how you're going to regulate and how you're going to enforce. How are you going to handle people that are, the emergency rooms for, are going to increase with people that are, have, lack of a better term, overdosed or whatever. How are you going to handle in the criminal justice system when you have people that are now driving while high? What is the test? We have a blood alcohol content. We know that with alcohol, it's a 0.08. It used to be 0.10, so it's actually decreased. But what is the rate for marijuana? So there's all these different things. So if it does pass, I hope that the legislature has a strategic plan in place prior to implementation on how they're going to handle all this stuff. And then they should also be looking at all of the other states that have possibly done this in the past and learn from their experiences.
Oh, right now, supposedly New Hampshire, one of the few that don't, the others have all done it. No problems. That's what we heard the other day. And I thought, boy, I said, I must be old-fashioned because, of course, the younger crowds, they're all for it. But I couldn't believe it. But I said, I was wondering, what's next? What's coming next? So.
Yeah, no. We need to, as a society, we need to get healthy and smart. And by, saying it's acceptable to get high, and that's not healthy.
No.
In ingesting, if it's that you're using the traditional method of inhaling smoke, again, I don't see the Surgeon General saying that that's good for you.
No, I mean, why? Well, I guess we're coming to a close around town, and we're so happy to have you back and start a new year. And I know myself, it's good to see, like I said, it's good having you here again and getting the new year off to a roaring start, I guess, because February already they got the Valentine's stuff out on the shelves, and they said they got Easter stuff ready to come out. But so with that in mind, thank you for joining us today, Chief, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon on Around Town. I'm your host, Dick Patten. Thanks for joining us.